Good evening, everyone, and good morning to Canada. Today, we are covering a very relevant very relevant topic in these challenging times. We are looking at, learning ways to keep working from home using innovative technology. But also, this has brought here a lot of concerns. And today's session is mainly to address these concerns. We have some experts with us whom I'll introduce soon, who will educate us about good technology, hygiene practices, if I may say so, good practices to follow, and optimum use of technology to stay connected in order to ensure business continuity. I'm very happy to welcome Vishal Vasu from Dev IT. He is a member of a Gujarat Regional Council, and Krishnanand Bhatt from NextDime. He is a member of a Maharashtra Regional Council. Very happy to have both of you experts with us today and to share your insights with our, with our audience, with our guests, our attendees. Quickly to say that Krishnanand Bhatt is the Chief Information Security Advisor at NextDime. He is in the CISSP Speakers Bureau and conducts training programs for students pursuing the certification both in India and abroad. He has worked with various clients to help customize web-based ERP solutions. Vishal Vasu is a Director and Chief Technology Officer at Dev IT and leads the company's technology and innovation ecosystem. He's a certified cybersecurity person known, he's very, very well versed in cybersecurity. And if all this hasn't impressed you enough about them, once they start speaking, I'm sure you're going to be totally impressed. So over to you, Vishal. Please start the discussion.
Thank you, Nadira. So, hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on cybersecurity and resilience. My name is Vishal Vasu, and I'm the Director and CTO at Dev IT. And I thank ICBC for inviting me to moderate today's webinar. In the first place, I hope that every one of you are staying home and are safe and doing well, because these are trying times and demands some patience from us. So COVID-19 or coronavirus, as we all know, has changed many things in the world and our lives too. Work from home is becoming the new normal. And most employees are working from home. And when they are working from home, they may be accessing and processing information which is outside the organization's normal security perimeter. And that also increases, to a certain extent, a risk of data breach. Not only that, but with the cyber criminals employing sophisticated phishing tactics and malicious websites, which are targeting such work from home devices by impersonating and citing information sources around COVID-19. There is a dire need for an organization to implement security measures, update their policies and procedures, and also think about recovering from a cyber attack with minimal loss. So it's my pleasure to introduce you to Mr. Krishnanand Bhatt, who is from NextGM. And like Nadira said, he is a certified information systems auditor, and a certified information systems security professional, who will be sharing with us today his insights, his thoughts about how to remain secure during this work from home kind of situations. After the talks, we'll have the opportunity to ask questions. Participants can also share their questions in the chat window, and we shall try to answer them all. Keep posting them, and should we run out of time, we'll try answering them by email. So now, without wasting any further time, I now request Krish to take over the virtual podium.
So good evening, everybody, and good morning to people in Canada. I thank ICBC for organizing this event for its members and providing such a wonderful platform, which has been scandalized more on the internet and on the public domain, but need not necessarily be as bad as it is put across as. So these are very interesting times for all of us. It's the first time in human history that there has been an exodus of people moving back home rather than moving out to earn a livelihood. It's a global phenomenon. What we all need to learn here is that working from home has become the new normal, and this is going to remain for longer periods than anticipated. Indian organizations, specifically in the non-IT sector, are experiencing this phenomena for the first time. A lot of people in the banking, financial services industry have now decided that work from home is very much feasible. There are organizations who are reaching out to technology partners, requesting them that you provide me a cloud solution so that business continues as usual. I'll speak to the regulator to see how I can manage moving my infrastructure to work from cloud. In the morning, I had an interesting panel discussion in Economic Times with most of the CISOs and CIOs who represent the banking and financial industry, and people from non-IT ITS industry, like from the Aditya Birla Group, Infosys, so on and so forth. And some interesting thoughts came out. One of the biggest thoughts that came out of this was that the entire manner in which we design and plan our cybersecurity and resilience now needs to undergo a drastic change. Organizations will have to rework on the manner in which they plan and anticipate business continuity management. Some of the quick highlights of this entire lockdown situation is, whereas everybody has a business continuity management program, organizations big and small never anticipated 100% movement of the workforce operate from out of office. That is point number one. Point number two, nobody anticipated an extended period which will go beyond 30 to 45 days, where my entire workforce is operating from outside the four walls of an office infrastructure. The investments in biometric access, physical security, on-premise servers are all now looking as investments in vain. There are so many learnings that has come out of this, and this is going to be the baseline for any future continuity investments or plans to be done by organizations. It's a global lesson learned, and there are a lot of takeaways out of this. We'll hear about these takeaways and success stories maybe in the months to come, but as of now, like all things, good or bad, this will also eventually pass, and we as a human race will survive this. So coming to the topic for the day, let us understand what is different that we need to do in COVID-19 situation. So if one observes the entire management of COVID-19 process will need to be taken as a new business proposition. As an approach, we all need to plan the structure, we need to plan the people involved in the structure, and we need to plan the problem-solving methodology that is involved. The reason I say this is that cybersecurity also is very much a business process. It realizes and it stays on the triage of confidentiality, integrity, and availability, nowadays including privacy. Availability being of most importance, because if systems are not available, if technology infrastructure is not available, people may not be able to use it as desired. Other key pointers that most of us do have in place, some of us are still trying to set our foot into, is having a critical incident management team and process. This is a very crucial team. We are in the third week or fourth week of lockdown, and most of us realize now that it is important and relevant to have such a team as a new normal, because situations come and go, but having a critical incident management team and process helps an organization to remain resilient. The key functions of the team should be to oversee all aspects that went into this incident, identify and understand evolving and emerging challenges, threats, and exposures, reframe issues or problems as questions, and the most important point is to communicate to both inside stakeholders and outside constituencies. It's very important in this situation to communicate. In fact, next time is as an advisory telling organizations it's better to over communicate than to not communicate at all, because that creates its own set of challenges. Another thing is to assemble the right kind of people. So you need people from within the organization who are your stalwarts, who are your winners. You need external experts who can give you a third external view on the way you need to manage things. And lastly, you need adequate representation from the leadership to balance between the goals that the business objectives are and the value system that organizations carry. These are really challenging times. So if I look at the paradox statement or the problem statement that comes out because of COVID-19, so if you see the boxes in front of you, the problem is known to us. The employees are known to us, so they are very clear and well defined. The action to a limited extent is known to us, so we need to develop the action plan to address. But we don't know the solution to the problem. So the solution to the problem is not known. IT and risk management team, including compliance team, has been trying to work on the solution to the problem. And that is becoming a real challenge in today's time. We are finding it really difficult and solutions are evolving. End of the day, if you see the box ambiguous and contested, leadership is clueless. Clueless about what? Clueless about the problem, and also at times the solutions proposed by the IT and risk team. Whereas leadership is looking after or trying to ensure productivity losses are minimized, IT and risk teams are trying to balance business continuity as usual and minimize the threats and exposures. So there is a conflict. And that is why we need an iterative, agile problem solving. So my friends who are in the IT industry understand agile problem mechanisms. But for others, it's something that we need to be.
Is there any question that you would like to ask related to cybersecurity?
Yes.
Tell me. We can put it. No?
Where can I learn to hack things?
I think you continue.
Okay.
I think with the audio got unmuted for someone. Please continue. We'll then have time for questions after you finish.
Fair enough. So you need to engage in iterative problem solving. That means for every problem that we are anticipating or facing in terms of cybersecurity, we need to first understand the problem, define the problem statement. At times, we need to explore options. We need to analyze the scenarios and outcomes of our choices. And then we need to have a team that executes and implements. To give an example, Nextdime had 7 offices that has gone under lockdown in India, and we have 2 foreign locations. For us also, this entire exercise was a learning on its own. In fact, there was such a big constraint that we eventually decided that even desktops of our organization have to be moved to the house of the employees. So that was first part of the problem. Then came the controls around it. Then came the way or manner in which people should connect. Then came the issues of infrastructure that people face working from home. It's always considered as a privilege to work from home. But I think lockdown has made us all realize that we need to be very mindful about what we wish for, because it comes with its own problems. Space. We felt we would get mind space and we can balance between family and office, but we are realizing that that's not the case. For people in Bombay, especially, traveling was always considered as a bane. But today, people are craving to travel because it is to give them the much required mind space, a space between their office and their home. These are difficult. Besides that, with the lowered level of controls established by the IT team, employees are always at crossroads to act or not to act. So there are challenges and there are risks. For every action that an employee does, knowingly or unknowingly, he faces the risk of an exposure that threatens to destabilize the organization as a whole. So that is the biggest paradox, and that is why management, the incident management team or the BCM team has to have an open-ended, agile problem-solving approach that helps cyber resiliency and protection of their information and assets. So let us understand the radar. So the risk is limited controls on assets operating on work from home, limited access to risk and support teams to monitor. The assumptions being most people connect through unsecured networks, global internet access, restriction not available at work from home. Data sharing is one of the biggest issues for the top leadership. Malware, being victims of malware, is the biggest headache and challenge that employees are facing. For the IT infrastructure management team and the Chief Information Security Officer, he has a dilemma on office policies not being compliant on office assets which are lying outside, non-updated antivirus on user machines, patch management not working, no visibility on the status of machines that are trying to connect to the core infrastructure. There has been extreme dependencies on firewalls. Every organization, big or small, has invested in firewalls. Now we realize the investment has to be in the right type of firewall. A high availability firewall is a necessity to support this kind of work from home environment where 100% of our employees are operating from outside. Secure VPN driven by next generation firewalls would have been the right kind of approach. Enhanced surveillance and monitoring tools, DLPs, endpoint protection should have been the right investments. So what is required as a learning post-COVID? Right invest, configure VPNs which could have pre-logon clients. That means every time you try to connect to the internet, you need to compulsorily switch on your office VPN. It ensures your firewall protects you from the threats of the unknown. Enhance server and network monitoring. And lastly, for organizations that operate from cloud, you need to enhance your cloud security. Cloud does not necessarily mean you're safe and protected. It's a misnomer. Unfortunately, most of the leadership believes the moment I move to the cloud, I am extremely secure. What they don't understand, it's like moving your family jewels from your house to your neighbor's house. If the neighbor doesn't take care of it, you are equally exposed to theft and data leakage as it would have been in your own premises. So some controls. One is dual authentication. So multi-factor authentication is the need of the hour. Since we all operate from home and we use a VPN to connect to office, for people in administrative function, people having elevated privileges, senior leadership, third-party infrastructure management entities, we should be doubly sure that they are the ones who are actually accessing our infrastructure and not someone else. In the COVID-19 scenario, a lot of organizations moved desktops to their employee homes. The challenge over there is that these desktops may not necessarily have all the patch updates, may not necessarily have the antivirus updates, and they are also challenging in terms of wireless, because that is not a default feature in most of the old desktops. So we could pause if anybody has questions at this point of time. Probably I'll request that we put that up so that that can be discussed. In meanwhile, you can all look at how to protect yourself and safeguard from fraudster attacks or from falling prey to financial frauds during this time. So we can
Chris,
open up for.
we have a very interesting question from Merv. The question is, what efforts are going into zero trust?
So zero trust is the concept which has started being acceptable now, although it always existed. But over a period of time, since we were in a protected environment, organizations felt, and this did not take a priority. So zero trust means the kind of features or controls that I spoke about: encrypted laptops, secure VPNs, multi-factor authentications, elevated privileges, using of DLP, CM solutions, monitoring, automating your cybersecurity as far as possible, setting in place policies and investments that ensure that every employee that is connected to your infrastructure is being validated. The VPNs are being configured in a manner that an individual does not necessarily just use a plain VPN. It needs to be using high level of encryption. Collaborative tools that are being used, users may need to also, and organizations may need to ensure that these tools are being validated for safety, and then only users are allowed to use them. An interesting analogy came out today in the morning where Infosys also validates Zoom before the app runs on the user's machine.
Correct.
They have enhanced their security and protection to that level. But that requires a very high grade of investment. Probably it may not be feasible for all organizations. But I would suggest a very important low cost investment, that is user communication and awareness. Because end of the day, in spite of having all the security features and best in class controls in the world, the people operating on your infrastructure are your most important asset. These people can create havoc. An aware employee is your biggest protection against all kinds of threats and exposure. And now is the time you invest in training, communicating, and as far as possible, positive messaging where there are learnings and an employee is able to take away the do's and don'ts. To illustrate, I have put on screen how you protect yourself from a financial attack. So similar things can be designed by the risk team of the organization, and they may ensure that employees are aware and they take care and not become victims and not expose the organization. So zero trust as a concept basically speaks about this in layman's term. It says every activity that is handled by your organization on a technology platform, you need to have cybersecurity designed at inception itself and not as an afterthought. You need to always prepare your organization from a cyber resilience perspective for zero-day attacks. In terms of information protection, your privacy has to be by design and not again as a process or a layer which gets introduced to comply with a regulation.
True.
So it says you handle your people, process, and technology, including cybersecurity in spirit, rather than as a document.
Very true. Very true. So talking about Zoom, we have one question from Ajay. I mean, I'm sure you may be covering this up, but He says, what are your thoughts about security threats related to Zoom?
So I will not speak about Zoom alone. I will just give a broad level understanding. These are collaborative tools, all of them, be it Zoom, be it Cisco, WebEx, be it GoToMeeting, GoToWebinars, or be it any other Microsoft Teams. These were all collaborative tools. They were designed as an alternative to in-person meetings. They were never designed with cybersecurity and data protection products. So people need to understand that we adopted these solutions in today's time because we never anticipated we'll face such a scenario. So what was considered as an alternative to in-person meeting today is being used as a basic necessary tool to work. Since these tools were never designed keeping in mind cybersecurity and data protection, they ideally did not have all those features that were necessary. Having been aware of that, there are some things that people need to be mindful about. And people also need to understand that Zoom has a free version. There were some mistakes along the way that Zoom committed, because whatever was offered for free, Zoom started collecting that information so that it can commercially, at a later point in time, use it for profiling and target marketing. It's a practice which is long known by Google. So it was invented by Google and it's been exploited by everybody else. Only challenge here is because China is in the bad books right now, it has exacerbated the entire issue, and Zoom is unnecessarily getting dragged into controversy. So they had controversial privacy policies where they were collecting user data and information without informing them. But they are a US operated company, and US never had any objections on that. There is no law in US which stops an organization from profiling customers.
Right.
In fact, Zoom was doing the same activity that a Make My Trip, a Book My Show, or an Amazon or a Flipkart is doing in India. Every time you log on to their website, you select a product of your choice, the product keeps following you. So there is nothing different that they are doing. Only thing, they routed the traffic through China.
Yeah.
Was a matter of concern because there was national interest and safety. That became a more dangerous trend. Since defense organizations in India have been using Zoom extensively, Government of India issued an advisory.
Yeah.
So it was more to do with protection of our national interest because the information was getting routed through China. But we all are aware that there is a China internet and there is an American internet. So an alternate to your Amazon, Flipkart is Alibaba and Baidu, and even Paytm is a Chinese investment company which has invested majorly in Paytm. So we have a China internet, we have an alternate which is an American internet. So either ways, we are getting exploited by both of these countries. We still need an ecosystem in India which safely and securely protects us. And I think that is what government is trying to do by trying to see if we can innovate something parallel to Zoom, which is a made in India product.
Right.
But till such time, towards the end of my presentation, I'll is using Zoom. If you follow those tips, rest assured you will be protected on Zoom. Yes, Vishal.
Yeah, perfect. I think we can carry on with the presentation now. I think people would have looked at this slide and made their points.
Perfect.
Then we'll take the questions at the end once again.
Done. So one of the biggest mistakes or learnings for leadership has been from COVID-19 is that most of our investments in cybersecurity was always in protection and detection systems. Very scarce was the investment in identification, response, and recovery. The recent ransomware attacks to a great extent alerted some organizations, but majority of the industry invests in protection and detection systems. The buzzword being that we'll have preventive controls and we'll preempt the attacks. But COVID-19 proved that there is nothing like preempting an attack. We need to have identification, response, and recovery systems in place to establish resilient business solutions. As per the NIST framework, all the 5 pillars are necessary for having a cyber resilient organization. And we also recommend the leadership should not over-invest only in protection and detection. They need to balance the investment across all the 5 pillars. It's absolutely important, and COVID-19 lockdown scenario, global lockdown, has only reaffirmed that fact. Another big challenge for boards, for leadership, for managers, and for heads of sales and marketing is the insider threat. Data pilferage, data sharing, customer database leakage, pricing leakage, formulation leakages, these have only increased. Social engineering attack has increased. Senior management is exposed more to social engineering. And in these times, it is even more difficult. You have a lot of online friends whom you have never met, but they are just coming in like unwelcome guests and sitting on your LinkedIn, sitting on your Facebook, sending you likes, sending you thumbs up, and you're not aware of what is happening. And this is also because you're just, believe me, once things reach normal, you'll suddenly realize that this clutter is too heavy. Be mindful about how you are inviting people into your lists. It doesn't really matter. I may have 5,000 LinkedIn connects if I am not aware of 4,999 of them, because they are all risks to me. The one connect that I am aware of, I have met him in person, is a sure shot connect that I can rely upon. So we need to be extremely mindful about how we are handling our social media handles, our social media interactions, our social media connects. In a survey, 87% of the management, top management, believed untrained and unaware staff are the biggest risks, which is very true. And I'm reiterating, aware people are your best defense. Everything else is a technology and an infrastructure, but end of the day, you need people to handle and manage them. And if they are unaware, they are your exposure and they are your weakest link. Third-party contractors. This is another interesting thing. Most of us have outsourced our core IT functions, have outsourced our IT help desk functions. In this lockdown environment, third-party service providers are also having the same challenges that we are facing. So they have opened up and they have loosened their risk and protective gear. So they are already started creating exposures. If one analyzes the biggest data breaches that have happened worldwide, the source of the breach usually can be traced to an inefficiency or an irregularity by a third-party contractor. So this is the right time for us to revisit the security posture of the contractor. It's the right time for us to partner with the contractor to ensure even his people are aware it's worth the investment, because he's an extended arm of your organization and he will ensure that you're secure if he is secure. So it's very important for organizations and leadership to relook into these. They may also need to relook into the financial stability of these contractors, because if they don't have financial viability, they may make choices which may not be comfortable for your organization. Third, if your organization is in an industry which is considered a critical national infrastructure asset, like in BFS, defense, healthcare, these industries which are also exposed. So we have enemy states who also coordinate cyber attacks, because now the world has realized to destabilize a country, you don't need soldiers on the border. All you need to do is destabilize the economy of the country. A very classic example is America, which actually influenced Brexit in a very negative way. And the company had to later on be wound up, because the investigation found that through social media, they were able to influence. So this is another challenge, and that's the enemy within. Although there are solutions, boards and leadership have limited visibility on these to combat internal threat. And the easiest way to handle this is employee training and communication. The more you train your employees, the more empowered you are to protect yourself. Some of the readiness initiatives that has to be done at this time is the IT help desk team may need to work for extended hours, because work from home means people really don't work during office hours. So they work. So the IT team has to be available between 12 to 14 hours a day. They need to plan their schedule in such manner. People in third party service management also need to plan like that. Organizations which were committing 24/7 service are also finding it challenging because people don't come into an environment. They are all operating in isolated silos. In our country, besides the major metros, people who are operating in metro to towns or cities, there is always a power problem also. And not everyone will invest in a generator which operates for 6 or more hours. So that is another constraint that we are all grappling with, besides the poor internet connectivity, and also at times we are not communicable because our mobile phones networks also sometimes don't work. And we all realize that the residential 100 Mbps broadband promise made by the service provider is a fakas, because he shares it amongst 1,000 people. So all of us are getting 1 Mbps speed, and that is also becoming a challenge. So some things that you need to rework and revisit is your password policies. Try to enhance it. Your employees can be advised to update, upgrade, or change their passwords. Employees using Wi-Fi devices at home should be advised to change the Wi-Fi passwords, make it more complex. Encryption, WPA2 and WPA3, enable these features. Network engineers need to relook at their routers and firewall passwords, because you never know, you have left the default admin passwords, you may be open for a surprise. Man in the middle attack has become very common. A lot of big organizations are facing ransomware attacks. In fact, a lot of people have become victim of WHO websites. There are around 2,000 fake WHO websites which have been created during this period, and the number is just increasing. So you have fake United Nations and fake WHO websites. So you need to be extremely careful and mindful about what you are accessing, what you are clicking on. Some good recommendations: session timeout and auto lockout, networking capabilities to be limited, people to be encouraged to use personal firewalls, and lastly, made aware of now downloading unauthorized applications. There are a lot of freebies that are available, but be mindful about what you are downloading, because said nothing comes for free. If somebody is giving you something for free, he will extract his cost and you will never realize what is it that has been lost. Awareness against phishing attacks, not to click on unknown links, are some of the important things that employees should be aware of. Financial approvals is another area that everybody needs to be mindful. I usually say in all my webinars that when it comes to financial approvals, you pause, you cross-check. That means you call up the sender, asking him whether he has actually sent this request for approval. You analyze the impact of this approval, and only if you are 100% confirmed, you approve or you click on the button. Else, it's better to pause and wait.
Just coming in now, Vishal, do you think you want to take in a couple of questions to make it this time, or what do you think?
Yeah, we can take a couple of questions.
Yeah,
We'll take a couple of questions now and then we'll move on.
Yeah.
So there's one question from Soumya Dev, and he says, how do we ensure data protection on clouds?
Good question. And very valid in today's times. So first, I acknowledge the person asking the question because it is important and everybody will benefit.
Yep.
So it depends on the cloud hosting service provider. Commonly used are AWS and Azure Cloud in India. Google Cloud is slowly taking some traction. One needs to understand that each of these cloud service providers have their own DRMs, that is data rights management solution. If you are using Office 365, which has now been renamed as Microsoft 365, and if you are using that for your Outlook and other data management as a solution, they also have their data rights management solution, which is service. One needs to such that. It is very important. And it's a good protection. ATP, it's a low-cost solution provided by Microsoft, advanced threat protection. It does not pinch too much on your pocket, but it helps you protect your email from unknown attachments and unwanted links. And it quarantines a lot of suspicious messages. It helps you to protect against phishing attacks. You have Azure solutions, which helps you encrypt and provide shared access to information with an expiry date with data rights management defined. So that is something which you can explore for. AWS also have similar offerings. So one needs to understand that cloud will basically offer you a tenant to host your services. But then you need to subscribe to these additional security services to be having that extra layer of protection. Another very important thing that can be considered is any information which is confidential, which is considered critical. Access should be provided only to relevant people on need-to-know basis and for a limited time. We all need to understand that in spite of having the best controls, even if someone is using a virtual desktop interface, that means he is not able to put anything on his laptop. It is very easy nowadays for someone to take a pic and share it on WhatsApp. So in spite of the best controls, the risk of data breach and leakage very much remains. And that's an inherent risk. So that is why I reiterate, you give relevant access to relevant people on need-to-know basis and only for a relevant period of time. So always ensure when it comes to confidential, critical information, this principle is followed and there is someone accountable and responsible to ensure its implementation. That would help you and it will go a long way.
Okay, I've got a question from my end.
I
got a question from my end. So we talked about, you mentioned that people were able to move their desktops from office to the employee's home. But, there were many who could not. And they simply opted for the employee to use their own laptop, what we call as a BYOD, or, asked a vendor in a remote place to supply with a new desktop or a laptop. So in this case, we are sure that, not all the security controls would have been applied to these kind of devices. So could you share some good practices around this threat?
Yes, definitely. So BYOD was another area of challenge, but it's something that we need to do to have business as usual. So one of the things that can be done is you can push your office VPN and have it installed on their personal machines. That's the most important thing. Second, you have to make the employees aware that for this period of lockdown, their personal machines may no more remain personal because you have an official VPN on it, and you need to configure the VPN in such a way that whenever they connect to the internet, the VPN has to be on. Because unless your VPN is on, you cannot push the other office policies into the personal laptop.
True.
VPN is the only conduit. So it's a single point of failure, but that's a single point which helps to enable protection. So that is very important. Now, another challenge comes out of this is many organizations invested in next generation VPN. And this feature of pre-logon VPN works in next generation VPN.
Right.
Most of the organization use Fortinet VPN because, as I said, we love something which is cost effective. So what happens is Fortinet does not necessarily provide this pre-logon VPN. But an alternate to that could be multi-factor authentication VPN, which is a standard feature in most of the firewalls, be it old generation or next generation.
Right.
So it's a matter of making choices and minimizing or mitigating our risks, nothing beyond that. Further, through the VPN, you can drive your DLP, your endpoint policies. But before doing all of that, first check the personal laptop, because a lot of people do not even have a proper antivirus put in their personal laptop. So it is like a of malwares sitting, waiting to strike. The moment you connect the VPN, you'll have all of them flowing into your core infrastructure. So some hygiene and sanitization checks necessary. One is check the operating system version of the laptop. Is it something which Microsoft is no more supporting? Because if that is the case, better not to take the risk. But if you don't have an alternative, then give him only relevant access, not to your core applications or core infrastructure. Second, check up whether his antivirus is updated. If it is not, advise him to at least invest in the Office antivirus. We have got this clarification brought from Symantec and McAfee. The trial version works like a full version for 30 days.
True.
So better have that, or Quickheal. Either of them, but they need to have the full product, and the IT help desk will have to do a full virus scan before they enable the VPN onto the machine. And once the VPN is enabled, employees have to be advised that they manually update their antivirus on a daily basis, because it is no more connected to the core antivirus server of the organization. It's a trial version. So they need to manually update, and antiviruses keep sending updates every day, twice a day nowadays because of COVID-19. So they need to manually update, they need to do a full virus scan once a week, some hygiene, and it's a partnership now, because your employees also will need to follow some hygiene checklists. So that,
and obviously, I mean, to secure further, they can also enable their local Windows firewall or something like that.
Yes, they can enable their local Windows firewall, and they should avoid downloading unauthorized applications. Whenever they have even a single doubt, they should contact the IT team immediately.
Right. So, Chris, any other important slides, or should we take up questions from
I'll
participants?
just quickly run through some slides. So this is just an advisory on how to handle phishing attack.
Okay, so we got just 5 minutes on our hands now.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
So there are some good practices for employees. Update your antivirus manually, even if it is connected to your core infrastructure. Rethink before clicking on any websites. If you never knew about a website earlier, don't click on it now and explore. Do not use free and public hotspots, even if they are available. And stay vigilant and alert, and always reconfirm before you act on something where you have even an inch of doubt. So very quickly, the Zoom advisory, I keep it open and we can ask the questions.
Okay, there's one interesting question that I would like to take up here, and that is, do you recommend cyber risk insurance?
Yes. In fact, this product is already available in Indian market. Problem is that it was never considered as a business need. But with the environment that we are moving in, it is not too late. You can subscribe for cyber insurance, especially the data breach portion of the cyber insurance policy. So the cyber insurance policy covers all the areas of cyber risk exposure, ransomware attacks, hacking, data breaches, include which are a reason for data breaches. And they are not very expensive products. Major general insurance service providers in the private sector and even in the PSU sector offer these insurance policies, and it is good to explore and subscribe to it. They also go to the extent of providing personal indemnity protection to the chief risk officer or chief information security officer.
All right, I'll take just one last question from Shovik. And the question is, how would you advise the SMEs in other sectors who are outside of IT and whose basic computing data is equally important?
So for SMEs, it's usually the top leadership who need to lead by example. I would say that you need to engage more in conversations with your employees, educating good practices to them. DSCI, which is a body under NASSCOM, if you go to their website, has very good advisories for SMEs in work from home environment. And their advisory is both for employees of the organization and also the leadership and IT infrastructure teams of SMEs when they're doing work from home. And these are good points to rely upon. and the key is communication. So for SMEs, since the level of interaction between the management and employees has always been great, now is the time for you to communicate with them and send out positive messages, the goods about cybersecurity. If you look at the advisory on your screen, so for Zoom, we issued an advisory within our organization where we said these are things that you follow. If you're following this, you need not worry about Zoom. So these are things that SMEs will have to proactively do. As far as possible, encourage your employees to report anything which is an anomaly, abnormality, or which does not look like something which they used to do in the past. And that is very crucial for SMEs, more so because the exposure is huge, and for them, it could ruin the way they are operating their business. For large corporates, they are anyway protected. They have the best-in-class systems and protections. That may not be true for SMEs. So some of the things that SMEs also need to follow is antivirus, very important. Discourage employees from going on free Wi-Fi or hotspots. If needed, you invest in the data card or you invest in their data so that they are able to use the right kind of infrastructure. It's a short-term investment to protect your long-term interests. I'll put it like that.
Okay.
Lastly, keep communicating. Very important. Communication is the key.
All right. Thank you, Chris, for answering that. We have many more questions, but I'm sure that either they were covered probably in your talk, or they got reflected. The answer got reflected in the slides that you shared with us. So with that, Chris, I think I would like to thank you for sharing all your valuable insights on cybersecurity and cyber resilience and how companies can basically, ensure continuity of business during this lockdowns. I'll now hand over to Nadira. Nadira, I guess your mic is muted.
Yeah. No, I wanted to say thank you, Krish. Thank you, because your insights have really helped, especially people like us. We get to know a lot from you because IT is not our main sphere of knowledge. And now we are totally dependent on IT at this time. So we need this kind of information and learning. Thank you, Vishal, for having fielded the questions. You yourself are an expert. And what I didn't say earlier when we began my introduction to you is that you've written a lot of articles on cybersecurity as well. So thank you for sharing and for joining us here today. So to all of you out there, every opportunity brings its own challenge. Today we are facing a new set of challenges. We have to be responsible. We have to be, use the technology to our benefit. And I think these learnings will help us even more. Just keep home, keep safe, stay healthy. This is our bit that we can do for today's pandemic to contribute towards this problem facing us today. Thank you again to all of you. Thank you to our viewers for joining us. Please let us know your feedback and your questions, whatever's left over. We will definitely share it with our speakers. In case it hasn't been addressed during the discussion, we will send it to you, the answers to you. Thank you once again. Good night to everybody. Stay safe.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.